GWATA TV gives you a first look at North Central Washington's business news. You'll hear from our local business, tech, and education companies as Jenny discusses hot topics and current events with some of the best innovators and pioneers in North Central Washington.
Hello, North Central Washington. I'm Jenny Rojanasatian, your host of GWATA TV. On today's episode, we actually went outside the studio. So this is a highlight reel from GWATA's latest entrepreneurial panel. GWATA is passionate about supporting entrepreneurs and bringing entrepreneurial resources to our community. With this in mind, our last entrepreneurial panel of 2018 was around funding your business. So in the upcoming episode, you'll hear entrepreneurs talk about the unique ways they financed or started their company, as well as some information about resources that you can tap into in our community. The full episode will be available online, so if you want to dig into more information or hear more about these stories, be sure to visit the GWATA website. Enjoy!
Awesome. My name is David Kaler, and my wife and I own Harvest Valley Pest Control, a very tech company. And we started the business in 2016. I previously was a regional manager for a large pest control business, but I'm also a pastor at a big community church in Quincy. And my wife and I have 5 kids. And I was traveling a lot, and one day got a note from my probably at that time 6 or 7-year-old daughter saying, "Dad, I don't know, did I do something wrong? I feel like you don't love me as much. You're always gone." And that was my wake-up call. It was like, pretty much at that point, the previous career ended, and we're like, something's gonna change. And so my wife and I, pretty soon after that, decided that this was going to be what we wanted to do. And we felt like this area had, it was an underserviced area. It was our sense. In the previous business that I was in, Central Washington, we actually didn't even service it, except for maybe down south a little bit in the Tri-Cities, and it was always very overlooked and kind of just, oh, send somebody out there kind of a thing. And so felt, okay, it feels like there's a real opportunity here, and that has definitely proven to be the case. It's been the most challenging thing that I've ever done, but I think the most rewarding in the sense of getting to build a team together and going out and doing this big, hard thing. And there's been some real difficult things around cash flow and funding, and I'm guessing we're going to get to that at some point. But having a team that is able to look at those hard, difficult things and then overcome it as a team, I think is probably one of the coolest things that I've ever gotten to do. So it's a little bit about us. Let me know if you missed something there.
Yeah, could you share a little bit about maybe something innovative that you do, either with your company or an innovative way that you've approached your market?
Sure. So it's not going to seem real innovative to techie people, okay? But in pest control world, doing all of your invoicing via email is like this mind-blowing idea that nobody thinks will actually work. And we used to have at my previous employer these long drawn-out arguments about why we couldn't go completely there and how grandma will never pay her bill if we just do it online, all these things. And so from day one, we just decided, no, we're just going to tell people this is how we do billing and everything. And it's amazing. People like, oh, okay, well, you can send it to my daughter, or there's always some way. And we have a few workarounds, but that would be one small thing. And there's, gosh, a whole bunch of different things that I could talk about. But it's funny how some of those hurdles that you just think, I think we get stuck thinking our customers will only do this. And sometimes I think that can be a real barrier versus saying, well, let's try this. And sometimes it takes a younger company, I think, a newer company to risk it in some areas like that. And all of a sudden, you know, like my previous company, we've spent tens of thousands of dollars on postage that I never have to spend. It's pretty awesome.
And that's a good cost saver. And lastly, how many employees do you have? And what's your overall structure? Are you an LLC? How is your business structured?
So we're structured as an S corp. We have 11 employees. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. So I will kind of move down the line with similar questions, just an overall history of your business and background, as well as some of the similar questions of structure and business size. So please take it away.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Malachi Salcido. I have two very different companies that we own and operate. One is an 18-year-old contracting company, does things that you're familiar with, mechanical, electrical, building controls, and I've been blessed to operate that business here in Central Washington. And I have 4 children, so 5 sounds even bigger.
Even awesomer.
Even awesomer. That was what I was thinking, yeah. Grew up here, definitely consider Central Washington my home. And our second business was really born out of, I think you guys know this, but a lot of times opportunities come to you and you're not looking for them. And opportunities are often not convenient. You don't schedule opportunities a lot of times. So in the, what I call Bitcoin Gold Rush 1.0, people came here and solicited our company to do design build work for a new kind of data space. And in that process of designing space for a server that was unlike anything I'd ever seen, I got to learn about the underlying technology. And after a couple of pre-design processes that the client decided cost too much and especially took too long, I decided to take the leap and dive into this emerging technology space myself. So what started as a division in 2013, 2014 is now a separate company. It's a group of companies, and we build and own and operate Bitcoin blockchain centers throughout Central Washington. So innovation is a new digital asset class. Most people don't fully understand it. Frankly, I don't fully understand it either because we don't know what it's going to be when it grows up to maturity. So we're all in the same club, but we're innovating. Innovative details include strange attributes like we don't have a consumer. So don't have a customer. I manufacture a digital commodity and operate a network and get paid to do it. Other strange attributes, if you're in business, which I think many people here are, we don't have an AR cycle. Can you imagine that? That's weird. It's good weird, but it's very strange. We have other volatilities that I think you're probably familiar with, but we don't have an AR cycle. And that's no customer model, no AR cycle. Those are strange attributes for a business, but they're among some of the new territory we get to enjoy and learn from. Employee count, we have approximately 35 employees in our contracting business, approximately 15 employees in our blockchain business structure, and then we outsource significantly, so our growth rate year over year it's almost like that. So we subcontract all kinds of administrative and specialization and direct labor. So on a project, we might have 10 direct employees, and we might have 60 to 90 subcontracted employees working on a job site because we're simply growing too fast to facilitate all the administration and the staffing oversight, all the things that go with having a staff of that size. So we are proud to subcontract extensively here in Central Washington.
My name is Kathleen Kennedy. and I own San Francisco Sourdough Style Eatery with my husband. We purchased the existing franchise in 2016. We make, we do sandwiches, soups, and salads for my customers Monday through Saturday, and there's just a lot of people who like to eat, which is good for business. So.
Absolutely, and so along those lines, I'm kind of thinking about the innovation question. Is there anything within your business that once you took over the franchise and started working in it that you either have done to be particularly innovative? It could be something as simple as electronic billing, right? I mean, I think that's certainly an innovation or even a value proposition that differentiates you from your other customers. Have you had a similar experience in either changing something from what the franchise structure provided or innovating in a way that would meet the customer needs locally?
I tend to do my billing online. My invoicing for my catering is done online. I just email it to them. I have a lot of business customers that will email me their orders. If I have questions, I'll email them back because they know how busy my store is, and I know they're busy too, so I can type a response or question faster than I can dealing with it on the phone and along with everybody else who's walking in the store. So it's kind of a win-win situation there of we can each get back to each other when we have that moment.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Scott, tell us a little bit about your business and your customers, about besides the company, and overall just a snapshot of what you do.
So my name is Scott Ptolemy. I co-own Web Guides Marketing with Jordan Lindstrom, who's in the back here. We have pretty much two facets to our business. We do consulting and we do e-commerce. So those oftentimes kind of weave in and out of each other, but we started this company. I joined Jordan. He was doing a lot of website development, working with a lot of local clients on their needs, building their websites, kind of what they needed at that point. He brought on a client that was very e-commerce focused and decided to bring me on. I come from an e-commerce background. And from that point, we started focusing more and more heavily on consulting e-commerce companies and started growing our own e-commerce brands. So I would say that the one thing that we have done to really innovate is that we don't consult on anything that we don't do. And I think that has really driven our business forward. So we used to be, I would say 75% consulting, 25% e-commerce. And I think over this last year, we've crossed that threshold of being more than 50% e-commerce. And I think that's going to be kind of the future of where our business is.
Wonderful, thank you very much. And forgive me actually, I totally glossed over the general panel introduction because I was so excited to hear from our panelists. And so at that point, I'm going to, at this point, hand it over to Stacy, who will be continuing the rest of the Q&A, talking about access to capital, and I suppose maybe recap anything I missed, since I just jumped right into it.
Thank you, Maggie, for coming today and helping us with this, especially for your sponsoring and supporting it. It's nice to have craft-free present in our community now. So hi, I'm Stacy Lucansmeyer. I oversee the Center for Entrepreneurship at Wenatchee Valley College, and I'm also on the GWATA board. And so we're going to dive into the financing, funding part of our panel today. You guys ready? Okay, and I am going to hop all over the place, keep it on your toes. And Kathleen, I want to start with you. So you have, I want to pull a little bit of your history forward, because when you went to start or to buy this business that already existed, there were some special factors into the funding that you chose and why and how that rolled out. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, when I originally went for funding with the bank, my husband and I had cash we were putting in, but we couldn't finance all of it ourselves. And so we asked the bank to fund for us, but they weren't quite willing to fund for us at the beginning because we didn't have any experience in the food industry or restaurant industry. So I ended up convincing the prior owner to carry the contract for 18 months so that I could have numbers and spreadsheets to be able to show the bank that I was able to manage the business and still turn a profit, so that they knew that when they loaned the money to us, that it was a viable venture and it wasn't just kind of a fly-by-night, you know. And we've been really lucky. Our business is very steady year-round. It's constantly growing, which is great. And you look for different ways to do the funding, and that's what we were able to do.
So did you look at a whole lot of other options, or did you just go straight for the bank and then work from there to make this deal work?
We had just done straight with the bank. I've heard of some outside funding, but I'm kind of really tried and true of I like people I can go in and sit and talk with versus talking to somebody on a phone or talking to somebody via email only. And my banker is really good about, I can send her a text and say, hey, I can be there in 45 minutes, and unless she's out of town, she's like, I'll be waiting. So.
So David, we're gonna hop down to you now. When you decided for family needs, you and your wife were jumping into this and starting this company, what did you process through in terms of funding options, and what did you actually put into place?
So we had, as we were trying to figure out, okay, what are we gonna do? We need to make a career change. We had a family member actually approach us and say, what would you need to start your own pest control business? And I was shocked. That was not on my radar. I was thinking I was going to go start driving a bus or something. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And so they ended up providing the seed money for the business launch, and then my wife and I put in some money as well. And that was the initial get everything out launched. It basically paid for a website and some, the initial product. We took a loan out on a truck, and at that point we were off and running. And so there was really, like, if I look back on it now, I wonder, you just didn't know all that really needed to be in place, because there was almost no operating budget, operating capital there. And so from that point on, we had to fund it with the revenue of the business. And so make sure that we started getting customers right away. I remember listening to a Dave Ramsey, is the Entree Leaders book, and I love most things Dave Ramsey says. But basically he said, you need to make sure that you have your revenue stream real strong in a new business before you leave your previous employer and to go do it, which is great advice, but I already left, and it was really discouraging that day. I was like, David, you fool. I was like, okay, God, you gotta help this fool. And so it was a lot of prayer and working really with Scott and Jordan. They were so instrumental to our online marketing piece, and a lot of, we really utilized a lot of word of mouth in the community. We got real involved in the networking opportunities. So like BNI, I attended GWATA a few times. I was just trying to figure out, okay, how do I just connect with people? And then it was all those relationships that really started to help us get the lead machine going, and then we made it. It was like, is this thing going to take off? Am I going to have to go apologize to my family member that thank you for investing in us? No, please practice that gift of forgiveness. And I wasn't sure, and it worked.
So we're going to get into challenges and stuff a little later, but I do want to ask before we leave Peter on this one, have you tapped into other funding sources since then?
So we did approach our bank, and set up a credit line at that time. And it wasn't, you know, the old joke about the bank is that they are not willing to lend you money when you need it, and then very willing once you don't need it anymore. And that was, for the most part, kind of our experience. It was a very small credit line, but we did take advantage of that. And it was, again, one of those things I look back on, and I think, my goodness, the timing of that was exactly right when we needed it, almost to the day. And so there's been quite a few of those moments throughout our journey where we look back and say, wow, Lord, you covered us, because, again, I tend to be the aggressive, I'm going to jump into this deep into the swimming pool and then realize, oh, I got to learn to swim now, and that's been a lot of, yeah, so I don't know, how many of you entrepreneurs are that kind of person? I think a lot of us, that's just how we're wired, right? And I think that's an okay thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that would not happen if it wasn't for us. And so we are God's gift to humanity. But there's some downside to that. And,
there's a lot of stress in the meeting.
Yeah, there's a lot of stress. And then I've been really, really blessed with the team that the Lord's helped me build around it. My sister is like the exact opposite of me, and she's one of the board members on our advisory board, and she's the detail number crunching person. And so as quickly as possible, I tried to counterbalance that within the business to protect the business for myself.
Excellent. There's a lot of little nuggets that you're feeding us as well in this today. Thank you for that. So Scott, jumping down to you. Yeah, what funding sources have you tapped into? How has that evolved, etc.?
Yeah, so our business, when we started, I originally bought into the business that Jordan was running. And from that point, we made a very conscious effort that we were going to get as far as we could without borrowing any money. So we started with a small amount of this seed fund that I essentially bought in with. And from that point, we knew we wanted to get in a bit into e-commerce. I don't think we ever realized quite how heavily we wanted to get in, but we made a conscious decision that we wanted to build up a nest egg within the business. So we did very heavily focused consulting for about 5 months and didn't pull a salary, set that money aside, and almost to that day that we hit that threshold that we wanted to, a door open. And we were able to really jump in with both feet into e-commerce. And we had the initial money that we needed to make our first purchases. And from that point forward, we really started rolling we made it through, that happened in October. We made it through that Christmas season without having to borrow money, got the money back from all the sales. And then from that point forward, we were able to stay cash flow positive. That required a lot of creative negotiations, making sure that we had good terms with our clients, had really good terms with our suppliers, and then on the backside of that, we set up a line of credit. I'm happy to say we haven't dipped into that, but I think that gave us the freedom to make the decisions we knew were going to be right for the business, and if we needed to tap into those funds, we would be able to.
I hope you enjoyed hearing from entrepreneurs right here in North Central Washington, how they funded their business and the unique ways that they're growing their company. I want to reiterate that on the GWATA website, we have the full hour-long panel available so that you can hear in more detail from each of these entrepreneurs. And we'll also be listing up the resources, whether that's financing through Craft 3, local resources through the SBA, SCORE, and other great organizations like the Center for Entrepreneurship. So there's a lot of resources on the GWATA website that I want to point you to that we weren't able to highlight in our episode today. We always love having you tune into GWATA TV, so join us next time.
Since 1999, GWATA has served as North Central Washington's Tech Alliance. As a 501c3, our mission is to bring people and technology resources together to create a thriving community. Through our work, we aim to inspire, engage, and connect.